I'm so excited to see everyone. I see some familiar faces, some people I haven't met yet. So welcome. If we haven't met before, my name is Abby Byrne. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at Big Interview. And I'm joined by my colleague Bree. Bree, you want to say hi for a second? Introduce yourself.
Hi, hi guys. Yes, I work in marketing at Big Interview and working with Abby to create these events for everyone.
And also we have Sonia joining us today from Kennesaw State University. Want to say hi, Sonia?
Hi,
Introduce
everyone.
yourself.
I'm excited to be here.
And we had one more partner that ended up dropping at the last minute, and that's ASU. And we are actually going to do a completely separate session with them. So we'll make sure to get that information out to you as well. Woo! And slides gone wild. Um, our intention is to do more of these sessions where we are having real life examples, that you can kind of take ideas from, and just kind of get an understanding of what some of these things look like with real life applications. I know I've talked to some of you about some of these ideas and things before, but definitely it looks a lot different, in a real world actual um, situation. So, um, yeah, so I guess let's get started. Um, and I'm gonna do the best I can with these slides. Sonia, if you wanna, um, whoa, go. Oh, s- I'm like, I may have to go back to the other view because this is like, okay, there we go. Okay, so Sonia, hold on a moment. I'm gonna go over a few things before I pass it off. Wow. Okay. So we are going to be talking about assignments today. I think everyone knows that. And we are gonna get into some real life applications with Kennesaw State. And we're also going to talk about how to create assignments, what you need to do that, send them directly to students, and sort of how you can actually apply these things. Now I'm scared of these slides. Um, there were only a few people that when they RSVP'd said that they hadn't used Big Interview before. So most of you already know what Big Interview is. But I am excited that we're exposing it to some new people. And if you are new to Big Interview, basically we are an online platform that helps people learn how to improve their interviews. It helps them with their resume. There's an AI component to that as well. So welcome for those of you who are new to Big Interview. We are now partnered with over 700 organizations, which is pretty exciting. I can remember when I joined Big Interview like almost 10 years ago, and it definitely was not 700. So that's pretty exciting. Um, so when we think about assignments, when I talk to people, I try to differentiate a little bit like between little a assignments and big A assignments. So when I talk about little a assignments, that means I could be assigning something in Big Interview. I could be saying like, hey, go watch the fast track or pick 3 questions, right? That is an assignment. But when we talk about kind of more capital A assignments, usually we're talking about the assignments feature within Big Interview. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of ways to assign little a and big A. So it could be using the assignments feature, and I'll be speaking more specifically about that, but it could just be asking people to do, some specific things within Big Interview as well. So that's kind of the scope. But when we talk about assignments, the actual feature, what that allows you to do is you can pull pieces of Big Interview out. That could be video lessons, that could be mock interview questions. Those can be, interview questions that you're pulling from the system. You can also create your own interview questions if you want to do custom questions. And you are basically creating a set of activities that you want a student to do. You're assigning it to them. This also allows us to do things that we don't really have the ability to do within the mock interview section of Big Interview, like changing the assessment criteria, and combining, those things together. It also allows us to do things like implementing time and take limits. So if you don't want someone to speak for 20 minutes, which is possible in practice, by the way, um, then you can, implement those limits. If you want the experience to be more like a realistic interview where you don't have the option to just like say, hey, I want to try again, I want to try again, you can implement those take limits. And sometimes the way that I think about it is it also feels more like an assessment environment. The stakes are a little bit higher, whereas practice, I can go in and I can talk for as long as I want and I can make mistakes and record it over and over and over again. Um, Within assignments, you can kind of put some of those things that are, could be more of an assessment environment or could be more of a realistic environment. Assignments also allow us to track usage in a much easier way than is possible in other parts of the site. So if I have my class and I have invited them to an assignment and, they all complete the assignment, in an ideal world, then I'm able to do things like export a report that has a list of their scores and completion dates and things like that. So it's much easier from a reporting perspective as well. So it's a very long definition of what assignments are, but um, I think it's important. Okay, so this is a great segue into talking a little bit about Kennesaw State. Sonia, I'm going to do my best to go through the slides, and if you want to just speak through, and definitely if something, like if you think of something and it's like beyond the scope of the slide that you think is really important for people to
Okay.
hear, definitely, yeah, definitely let's do that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm Sonia Margwin. I work at Kennesaw State University, which is on the north side of Atlanta. And we share the same student base as Georgia State University, Georgia Tech, Emory, and University of Georgia, as well as several other smaller public and private institutions. So the reason I mention this is because one of our big goals is to make sure that our students are competitive out there in the marketplace alongside all of these other students. And what we do is I work specifically within the business school, which is the Michael J. Coles College of Business, also one of the largest business schools in the country. We serve over 10,000 students here. So it's important that we find a way that we can provide learning for all of these students with very limited resources. So my specific role within Coles College is I work within student success. We're very lucky to have this particular dedicated resource. And my personal role is to develop curriculum for business professionalism and career readiness. So when someone introduced me to Big Interview, I was very excited. I'm like, hey, we can use this. So the way that we approach this learning system is we have three BUSA professionalism courses. We call them BUSA for short, and that's just simply an acronym for business administration. But we have three mandated courses that every single student in our college has to take. And these courses provide an opportunity for students to learn about these professional skills and to practice those skill sets that they're going to need after graduation. So when we started using Big Interview, this really was a good fit for us because of the large number of students we have. We have very large cohorts. The instructors that serve our students are ratioed about 300 students to one instructor in some of our larger courses. And it just isn't feasible for these instructors to talk one-on-one with students and to do mock interviews. So this is where we take advantage of the functions within Big Interview. So for this intro class, our BUSA 2150 class, we use the fast track model. So our students go through that module. And for those that aren't familiar with it, it's very briefly, it's just a quick 2 hour, it's not quick, it's a 2 hour module but it talks about all the different forms of interviewing. And what we love about it are there's multiple features. First and foremost, it's engagement. Students can't just click it on and walk away. So they have to engage with the product. They have to watch the modules, record themselves, and also do these mini quizzes throughout the modules. So we like that aspect of it. And then also, once they complete this entire module, they're given a certificate of completion. So it makes it really easy for our instructors then to check off and recognize, hey, you completed this learning module. So that's something that's been very advantageous to us. Now, something we do subscribe to is with all of our professional development, it's repeated practice. That's how you build the skill set. So we take Big Interview also to the next level, which is our BUSA 3150 course. And here we had one of our wonderful people over in career planning developed different assignments for each of our different majors within the college. So something that's really great too that we realize is that the AI system provides that feedback for the students so they can continue to practice and build their skills. We don't have it set where they can't go in. We let them go in and practice and redo, because in order to get credit for completing it, they have to achieve a gold or silver status on their little certificates. So one of the things too, I want to point out too, is that increasingly we know that employers are using that virtual forum to screen new applicants, to interview new people. So this is a great chance for our students to get in front of a screen and see their own performance, to see how well they're doing before they have that real life, when it really counts, experience in front of the employer. So we love that. We took it a step further. Our BUSA 4150, which is our final level, this is where students actually engage with a career coach who helps them make that transition from academics into their professional world. These instructors came forward and they were like, hey, give them more practice. We love this. So this was my first time jumping into Big Interview and creating a custom assignment. And I was able to see all those pre-recorded questions and piece them together into an assignment which is much more involved. It has very thought-provoking questions where students have to spend the time discussing things and just really give lengthier responses. So we sort of have built the scaffold of interviewing using Big Interview. Not only Big Interview just for the interview, but we've also begun using the other modules as well. We use the networking modules and the career readiness portion too. So we've had great luck with these. Our students have done well with these. There's a very small, if any, learning curve to jump right in and start using the modules, which is great. And we have, being a large school, we've dabbled with quite a bit of software to look for tools. And this is one of my favorites. So I'm a big fan here. Okay. All of this came to us through career planning. And they were the first ones to discover this. And we had initially presented it as an option to students, but then we realized, probably as many of you who work in universities, if you have all these wonderful sources at career planning, students don't necessarily take advantage of them unless you sort of give them that incentive. So by bringing them into our courses and saying this is part of your course, now we're ensured that our students are getting this practice, they're getting the exposure to different kinds of interview and networking. And it really has served us well. And it gives us a great way to help as many students as we do. Each semester we have 2,000 plus students going through our courses, and we know that they are doing this. I kind of equate it with, we're making them eat their spinach, like a little kid, because if you present it out there and you say, hey, go do that, that's great. But unless you say, here's an incentive, this is credit for your course, a lot of students aren't going to do it. So I noticed this slide that's been put up, and we really do see that, we've got 20% of our students typically jump right in, they're the high achievers, but it's the incentives that help the rest of them get through the program. And we've got a good product here with Big Interview. So if anyone has any questions for me or would like to touch base later, just shoot me an email. I might even see you at NACE next week in Philadelphia. So this is a great product, fully endorse.
Thank you so much, Sonia. And we are going to also have time for questions at the how to do assignments. Um, that was awesome. It's so great to hear. Um, I am going to be going through how to create an assignment in Big Interview. I know I have people on this call that are already experts on that process. And when I'm done with that, maybe some of those people can be thinking what they might want to share out to the group in terms of like what has been successful for them or, um, you know, things to avoid. Just like I know that there are other experts in this group. So when I'm done going through that, maybe those people can speak up and add their expertise to this conversation. Okay, I have, I know I seem like really goofy going, like I've never presented a PDF before. I'm usually going through like a slideshow. So if it looks kind of goofy, that's why. Um, so sorry about that. Okay, like relieved to be off of that PDF. Okay, so some things that you need in order to create an assignment or use the assignment feature in Big Interview. You have to have an admin account or an org admin account. So that's either the highest level or the next level down. If you are a person that simply wants to be reviewing an assignment, just as a reviewer, and you don't want to be creating them, you only have to have, you don't have to have any access at all. In fact, we can generate external sharing links for assignments. So I know that I have institutions with all different types of needs, and sometimes that comes up. And then, of course, if you are creating a new assignment, for an actual group of students or for a class, you will want a list of those students in a CSV form, and I'll go over that form when we talk about inviting students. So I'm on the student side right now, and a lot of times you're going to get popped into the admin side first anyway, but you'll want to toggle to admin mode. And I'm going to go up to interviews and then interview assignments. And you're going to see all of my nonsense test assignments. Okay, and you're going to come up here to add new assignment. There's a lot of options on this first page. And let me just go over what these mean. So it's optional to have a due date. You can have one. I do have institutions that have assignments that are basically evergreen and they keep them open and they don't have a due date, so you can leave it off. And then, as I mentioned before, you can set time and take limits here. Again, that is optional. Sonia mentioned that they just kind of let them do it over as many times as they need to get a gold or a silver. And I think that's, a good approach as well. A couple different options that you have down here. So in the practice area, the videos have to be at least 30 seconds or longer in order to get that AI feedback. And depending on the question, you may have someone that speaks for 27 seconds and you still want them to get feedback. It still would be valuable. So you can force the AI feedback to run on all the answers in assignments. If you are interested in having users share their responses, share their assignment externally, you can toggle this on. For faculty, I do recommend turning this on private. So that will just mean that that's just for you. That's your assignment, your students, so that other admins can't see that. Okay. And then depending on whether or not you want, maybe if you have a big class, you don't want to get an email every time there's a submission, but you might want to toggle that on. Okay, so that's everything, all the options on that first page. I I don't see people using these templates very often, so I'm not going to highlight those. I'm just going to start building my own here. So here are the options for mock interview questions. You can use anything that's in our library. So, you know, whether that's top 10 questions by industry, whatever that is, you just hit the little plus sign. I'm not going to be making a set that is very cohesive because I'm just, you know, using this as an example. Um, so you can hit the little plus sign here. If you want to preview this, you can. Um, there are some questions that are in here. It's like the same question, but different actors. So if it makes a difference to you, like what the vibe of the interviewer is, you can preview those by hitting that little play button. Um, if you want to add custom questions, it's really easy to do. You just go to custom questions and click add, and you can either record in the system, and that's the same recording functionality as on the student side, or you can upload your own. This just needs to be an MP4 file. So either way, and that will just populate here. Why are you interested in underwater basket weaving? Okay. When you have, and then if these are not in the right order, you can drag and drop them in the right order here and hit save and continue. If you want to add lessons, this is where you can do so. So maybe you want to grab a couple things from the fast track. The thing that I think of the most when I think of adding these lessons is that so many times I would be going through the mastery track with people. The mastery track is basically a version of the fast track that's about 400 times as long. Um, and I always tell people like, "Ooh, I don't often recommend the mastery track because it's like so much content. It's overwhelming." But there's really good stuff in the mastery track. And so I am so excited that we can add these to assignments now because that means I can go in and grab something from the mastery track and put it here in an assignment and present it to a student in a way where they're not like, "Oh my God, the entire mastery track, my head's gonna explode." One of those things that I really like is 30, 60, 90 days. I think that's a really great module. So grabbing whatever you want here, again, you can rearrange them in whatever order that you want. If you want to follow, you know, the fast track basically has a model of like, you watch the lesson about tell me about yourself, and then you're gonna, you know, and then you're going to practice. And so you can kind of do something like that where you're alternating, like, here's the lesson, now you try, here's the lesson, now you try. But totally up to you to order them in whatever order that you would like. And you're going to hit save and continue. You can adjust the default criteria here. So the default criteria for human reviewers is here. If you want to use that, you just hit the check mark here. If you want to add custom criteria, this also allows you to just kind of pick and choose what you want. So maybe, like in addition to adding custom, so maybe you are interested in whether or not they answer the question well. I don't care about attire for this. We can talk about that later. Or, you know, eye contact, speaks, you know, you can pick and choose. You don't have to use all of them. And then if you have, you know, I hear something that I hear all the time is like, well, I have my own rubric for how we're evaluating this, and we want to use the same rubric here as we're using in other places. That's fine. You just add whatever, you know, your rubric criteria are here. Hit save, and then, you know, you can use the same criteria. You don't even have to use any of our default ones if you don't want to. And then I'm going to hit save and continue. So a few minutes ago, I said what you needed to create an assignment, admin access of some kind, um, a list of students if you're, you know, ready to invite them. You can invite students one by one. I think probably you're going to want to add them all at once if you have, you know, more than a few. But let me just show you what this looks like. So at the bottom here, like if I just want to add one person, or maybe like I'm going to add a TA first and they're going to go through it, and then I'll come back and add my students later. So if I'm adding one person, so we'll add Bree. You're Bree at, not that you actually need to get this, Bree, but you're Bree at Big Interview, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
am. I gotta make sure I submit my assignment on time. Gotta be a good student.
Yes, I'm gonna be looking out for it. Okay. Um, and then you hit the little plus sign, it'll come up here. And if you wanted to, you could do that for 3 or 4 students or whatever. Probably more likely is that you have more than a handful of students and you'll want to import them from a CSV. Um, it is important that it follows there's some directions here, some helper text. If you are adding students, the columns need to be first name, last name, and email. That's all. But just make sure that you have that in correctly. Some things to avoid: don't copy and paste this into your own email client. This message here, this is going to generate, a dynamic link back to this assignment. So like if I just sent this to someone, that's not going to get them where they need to go. This is going to send out through the system. So we don't want to be trying to copy and paste this, which I've seen before. The reason this is here is so that you can see what the message is, but also if you want to add any additional instructions or directions here, you can do that. So if you wanted to say like, here's a link back to a resource, or remember to do your best, or whatever, whatever it is that you want to add here, you can add there. And then you're going to hit save and continue. And of course, if you're importing, you're just going to hit import. And then those names are going to populate here. And you will hit save and continue. You will get a draft version of this assignment. If you want to make changes to questions, this is the time to do it. Once someone starts your assignment, it's locked in. So I can't go back and make changes to questions. The reason for that is just for data integrity. If I go in and complete the assignment in one way, and then you go in and change the questions and someone else complete, it's gonna mess with the data. So that's why that is. If you do make a mistake, you can always just duplicate this and archive it, and start again. But this is the time to see the questions, see the lessons, edit them if you need to. Okay, now I'm gonna hit save and publish if this looks good. Okay, and I'm all set. So from the student perspective, they're getting an email, okay? They don't have to be in the system for you to invite them to an assignment. So if they're not in the system at all, that's no problem. They will get credentials to log in and get to the assignment. All good. Now, emails can sometimes go to spam. Emails can sometimes get eaten by your dog or wherever they go. And someone might say, I didn't get the email for the assignment. That is part of the reason why we also have this code. So it will automatically generate a code every time you save a new assignment. If I have someone that says I can't get through it through email, no worries, they can always use this code. This code, you don't have to like write it down or so, it's not going to go away. I can always get back to this and copy the code. So sometimes people are like, well, let me write that down real quick. I'm like, it's not going anywhere. You can always get back to that. So from the student side, and I'm going to toggle back to the student side to big interview. So kind of two different possible experiences here. Either I have gotten my email successfully, I've logged in, that will just pop me right into the assignment, okay? I don't have to do anything special. But if I am a person who couldn't find my email, you gave me the code, then I'm just popping in that code within assignments. So if I'm one of those email people, it's going to pop me in here. Here's my assignment. Code person, I just have to enter the code and hit go. Um, if you have worked with Big Interview before, this probably looks pretty familiar to you. It is very similar to what you would see in the practice experience. You'll notice there are a couple differences here. If I have time and take limits, I will be able to see that up here. So I have 5 minutes and 0 out of 3 um, takes that I have done. I can see a question preview over here on the left, and I can see what lessons. Um, I have already watched these, so that's why those are checked off. Um, and then a little bit different from practice, I have a submit button. So once I hit submit, that will go and it will live within that assignment. I can, and I'll show you in a second, and I can, as an administrator, do a couple things with that assignment. Um, some of those things I talked about earlier. So I'm able to, there we go. I'm able to see anything that is in progress so if I invited 10 students and 5 of them have gotten started, I'll be able to see like, oh, Abby has completed 2 out of 10, or Bree has completed 3 out of 10. Once that gets submitted, that will be in this to review area. Now, whether or not you've said you will have a human review it or not, you may have just said your task after this is to make sure that you reviewed the AI feedback, or whatever it is. So there's not always an expectation that there will be a human reviewer. In the case that you are having these reviewed either by yourself or by someone else, um, they will be in this to review category, and then once they are reviewed, they will end up here. Okay. I have an option up here. This little button, that little like document with the arrow, that will export a list of all of my users who have completed, their date of completion, and their scores. Also, if you have enabled external sharing, you can export review links. So I have schools that use this in a lot of different ways, like maybe they're working with an employer partner, or maybe you're working with mentors and they're going to be looking at these student videos. They may not be in the system, but if you use this external review, export review links feature, you're able to say like, okay, you're going to work with these 3 students to give them feedback and give them those external review links, which allow them to do that, but without having access to the system. While we're here, this duplicate feature is also pretty helpful. So say that I come in here and I have this lunch and learn assignment, but I actually have like 10 sections of lunch and learn that I'm teaching. And I can come in here and duplicate that, and you can actually see it from this view as well. I can get my zoom out of the way. You can duplicate that. You can say section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that will just save you some time and heartache. There were some people that didn't know that that existed, and they were like going in and like trying to recreate assignments over and over again. I was like, that's very sad. Okay, so I want to make sure that I have given you all the information about how to create these. Um, I think that covers everything. What I'd like to do now is go over questions. And then if you are one of those people, I'm not going to pick on people today because I'm feeling nice, but if you are one of those experts in assignments that wants to chime in and tell us about something cool that you're doing, advice that you have for others, um, best practices that you have found or any kind of tips, I would love that. That would be awesome. And you can either unmute yourselves or you can write it in the chat, is fine.
Hi. I had a couple questions as you were going through creating that. If you create custom criteria, is the AI function able to function with it?
That is a great question. The answer is I wish. The the custom criteria will only apply to a human reviewer. It is not going to change the AI evaluation, but that's a great question and also a great idea for a feature request.
And then I saw a note pop up on your thing that said if you upload a second file, CSV, it replaces it. Um, does it replace things that may have been manually added to that same assignment? Or is it just the file it replaces?
I'm trying to think what I would have said that. So the CSV, it does not replace. So that's just for inviting users. It's not going to replace anything. So like if I invite 10 students and then I come by CSV and then I come back and I have a list of 15 more students, um, all of those students will still be invited to that assignment, if that makes sense. I'm not like kicking anybody out by adding another CSV.
Oh, I thought there was a message under that CSV thing, the little question mark that says duplicate files will um, multiple delete one. So that's why I was just double checking.
So if I had a student on list A that is also on list B, it's just basically telling you that it's not going to
Send it twice.
send it twice. Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, we have a question in the chat. Can admins give feedback from the admin view even if a different org admin created the assignment? Hannah, this is a really great question. Um, okay, so if if an admin has a private assignment and they want another admin to review it, they can provide them with those external links. Um, they could make it visible, but depending on who all you have in the system, that might be tricky. But I have good news for people. We are creating some additional functionality where you can have a private assignment, but only share it with certain admins that may need to have access to that. So I know that that's coming pretty soon. Can you show again how to get to the assignment section from the admin page? Somehow I keep missing that part. Certainly, Phoebe, I can do that. So, um, so I'm in admin mode, but just in case you end up like on the student side of this, you can always get back to it by clicking on admin mode. And so you go to interviews and then interview assignments to get to this. Okay. And then I think maybe, okay. And then Rebecca had a question. Do you have any printed material that I can include in our welcome packets? So we are in the process of updating our marketing material. And I would say yes, and Rebecca will talk to you offline about that so that you can get what you need. And then I want to make sure that I got all the
There was
questions.
also there was another question from Hannah about if students can if faculty can preview an interview before students access it.
Yes. So, okay. Now
Like, hi, that's
yeah,
me.
hi.
So she wanted to, like, I know you can, when you choose the questions and hit the plus sign, like how you demonstrated, you can kind of like click play and preview it. But this instructor wanted to know, like, could she see the final product as a student would and like click through one after the other and just preview it in that way, start to finish? And
So yeah,
yeah, thank
yeah.
you.
Um, this is a little annoying, but you you can like when you hit save and publish, you can go in as a student and view it. The annoying thing about that is that that does count as like the assignment being started. So it will lock down the questions. Now,
Yeah, but
let's
then
let's
could she, I'm sorry to cut you off. That's
okay.
what I was telling her, but then because that's all I could think of, but then if she did identify like, oh, I want to pick a different one, she could still duplicate that one and then
Yes.
would just, okay, that's kind of what we
Yes.
came up with, but I
Yeah.
wanted to know if that was
You've got it.
okay.
A little bit convoluted, but that's the answer. Yes.
Thank you. And then I'm sorry everyone, I don't mean to monopolize. I just wanted to ask a clarifying follow-up question for the other one that I asked. You said, because the question from the faculty was like, can she tell her students, I'm going to give you feedback, but also Career Center staff just to add a little bit of weight to like somebody else will be looking at this. So that's why I asked the the additional admin question, and I think you said they need to make it visible. Does each individual student need to make it visible, or does just the faculty need to say this assignment is not private and make it visible?
Yeah, so two ways to do it. They could make it visible so that another admin could hop on there. If they're worried about that, like they can
And by they, do you mean the faculty setting up the
I'm sorry,
assignment?
the assignment creator, sorry about
Okay,
that.
thank you. That's okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So yeah, the assignment creator can make it visible, or the assignment creator could use the external, like export external links, if they didn't want to do that. But again, we have that functionality coming where where you can just like selectively share with another admin, which I think is more of an ideal solution. But yeah, that's what it is for now.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Creating assignments for student workers. It, Zelda, are the student workers evaluating assignments, or the student workers, um, can you say more about that use case, Zelda?
I kind of want to make modules,
Yeah.
assignments for them. And I saw how you had that since we're learning how to do those NACE competencies. And so bringing in big interview and with your student workers, that would also help them be able to help other students that call. So can we, as admins, create assignments and modules for them to use and utilize. Plus, it'll give them a good introduction to how to better utilize Big Interview. So, can we create modules like that for our student workers as assignments?
So what you're able to do now, Zelda, you can do what I showed you, as in adding the lessons, adding the mock interview questions. You can customize the mock interview questions. What we don't have in place right now for assignments is that you can't create your own video lessons. I know that it's coming soon, but you can only customize those questions. So for lessons, you'd have to, use what's available. But yeah, I mean, that would be awesome.
Thank you. That is great. I can't wait to get it started.
Okay. Other questions, or definitely looking to hear from some of my more established schools if you want to speak up. Okay. So, I don't think we have any more questions. That's fine. It was like a lot of questions all at once and then no questions at all. So we are going to be doing another one of these sessions. ASU was supposed to be joining us and they had to kind of drop out last minute. Um, I honestly love just hearing all the different ways that people are using Big Interview. Um, oh, Angie, yeah, hold on one sec. So I will be on that session. We will invite you guys. And you're going to get some follow-up after this call as well. So thank you guys for joining us. Angie, I wouldn't say that's off topic. Angie's asking about resume AI. Um, Angie, the only reason I really didn't go over like assignments within resume AI is just because I know that there are people on this call that don't have access to that product. But you can certainly utilize scoring guides in order to assign and invite them to specific scoring guides as an assignment. And that is a pretty much the same process that I went through utilizing interview assignments. It almost looks exactly the same once you get to the end of the scoring guide. And kind of the same thing with scoring guides. You click on the three little dots, you say invite users, you use either CSV or you can invite them as a one-off. So yeah, kind of the same process, but that's kind of why I didn't get into that, Angie. Um, oh, Zelda, thank you so much. Thank you for attending. And thanks everyone. Oh, um, Christy had a question. Just how does the AI do word filler count? Um, oh wow, I haven't really thought about word filler count in a long time. Um, so Angie, I have no idea. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. Um, I I think that yeah, I don't remember. Oh, you had some students complain that it was inaccurate. Um, I will I'll get back to you that on that, Angie and Christy. It's been so long since I've looked at that word filler that I do not recall. Any other last minute questions? Okay. I want to thank again Kennesaw and Sonia. Thank you so much for sharing. That I think it's so impressive and so cool what you all have done. Bree, thank you for putting this together. Very much appreciated. And thank you guys, everyone, for attending. This was awesome.